Hey everyone, Lauren here from Color the Kitty doing my Thursday video. And yes, I really need to update my slide because this is no longer live because I'm doing these pre ahead of time. Just a new setup that I'm doing. Alright, so for this week, I'm making a little bit of progress on this cute one here. And here we go. This is my own coloring sheet that I drew myself. And I went a little pink crazy with the bulb cats, and I just kind of felt like it. I was in one of those moods. I'm like, I'm going to go with that. So here we go. So I'm going to finish the star, the base of the tree, and then I have an idea for some purple background with some watercolor pencils. So we'll see how this is going to go. Alright, so first it's got the yellow. Let's see what we can get done in this session. I decided to show you, other things that I do, which is coloring sheets that I've been making. I have 3 available for the holidays. This is one of 3. So I've got a Royal Langnickel yellow here. First I'm just coming in with a little bit of color just to kind of work along. And this picture is actually a lot of fun to work on, even though I went super pink crazy. Alright, and then just kind of working some darker yellow here and there. And that's kind of the plan for the star, but I might add something in a moment or two. Alright, so we've got that. Now I do want to add something. I just feel it's a little too much just plain yellow. So what I need is some colors. I'm just trying to think of my colors. I have an idea for one. Once I find it here. So I've got my pencil cases on the floor. Ooh. Feel free to have a yawning drinking game right now. Because that's what's happening to me at the moment. Having one of those weird insomnia times. I think it's that seasonal coming up to Christmas, the colds and flus going around. So I'm thinking I'm having one of those moments today. Alright, so I'm going to bring in Rose or Olive, which is going to be really dark. But it's what I want to go with for this part. So my Prismacolor sharpener. Might be a little too dark, but that's okay. Because I'm purposely wanting a little bit to show some shadow. And I think this is super effective right now. This is giving it what I want it to give, which is good. Just to kind of show a little bit of dimension to it. That way it's not just one single color. Oh, that's looking a lot better. That's looking a lot better. Alright, so we got that. Then we need a brown here somewhere. I should have some browns. I might have to bring in another brown, but we'll see in a moment. Because I've got pencils and pencils and pencils everywhere. Actually, I am going to bring in a second brown. So I'm going to put that olive color back while I'm thinking about it. Ah, I got pencils popping everywhere. Alright, let's put the olive back. Ooh. Pretty, I'm ready for a nap. Like I say, it's the yawning drinking game right now. Alright, so I got two browns. They're both Mindware. The olive was the Rose Art. So just come in with the lighter brown. Nothing fancy. And this paper is just simply cardstock. It's not my top choice for coloring, but I do print my coloring sheets on these because it's a decent paper for just an overall multi-purpose, kind of, for the most part, for color pencils. Because I have not done my homework to know which paper do I really, 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 really want my coloring sheets on. And because I hand these out for free, so there's also a cost to doing things. So simply, I just keep it pretty bland. But cardstock is great for, it's a little thicker than regular paper. It is useful to be able to put on some coats. If I'm, the advantage for me is I can blend with these, which is awesome. But usually for my own, when I'm doing a project of my own, I've been using other papers. Lately, I've been using sketch pad paper that I have a sketchbook kicking around here, and I just been using it. I tear out a page and run it through the printer for getting a line drawing. I can show you, if I remember, my X-Wing and Y-Wing bombers. My Star Wars picture, which turned out super cool. I love it. Which reminds me, I should actually post them online. Show off a little. Alrighty. So, really rough shading here, because I'm going to come in with the darker brown and then go back and forth a little bit to get a somewhat desired effect here. And yes, I like to turn the page. But yeah, now that little bit of darker brown makes a big difference. On the weekend, I was at a card making Christmas party, and someone asked me about my classes for Stampin' Up, and they're like, is it coloring classes? I'm like, no, I do a little bit of coloring, but I'm like, it's still card making. Which prompts me to wonder, should I be having card making classes? Or not card making, coloring classes. Oh my. I don't even have my words together. It's an interesting idea, which I'm thinking more open-ended. Not so much class, but gathering, I think, would be the better concept. There, see that second brown looks great. Now I'm going to come back in with the lighter and just kind of finish the bottom to kind of fuse them together a little bit. As best I can, even though it's not looking the greatest. But I'm just doing, you know, some semi-normal coloring. Oh, that looks nicer. And then one more time, we're going to come back in with that darker brown. Just to give it a little more around the bulbs, around the bottom of the greenery. Oh, that looks great. Okay, that looks really good. And that's like an example of just playing with layers of two colors. That's only two colors. Oh, that's great. Love it. Okay, here's where things are going to get interesting. So let me pull in something here. We're gonna go watercolor pencils round because I feel like it. Come on, my friend. Watercolor pencils. Oh, and I totally forgot today's the 12th. New Paper Pumpkin promo. I'll have to check it out. Alright, so I'm going to move this off to the side for a moment. I have a whole bunch of various things, and I could use Stampin' Up, but my eyes went to this purple right here. This is a knockoff brand, but is it purple? Yeah, it's purple. But just for, you know, change it up. So these are my mostly Stampin' Up colors. I have occasional other colors in here, which actually that belongs back here. I should do a quick resort, but I think that was the main one. I got another purple apparently. Alright, well, doesn't matter which one. No, doesn't matter which one. Just for some reason. I'm in a purple mood. And here's a 31 plug for all of you, 31 goers. This is from the Get Creative collection. I don't even know if it's still available, but I love this thing for my watercolor pencils that are on my ongoing usage. Alright, so nothing fancy, just time to make a mess. And I'm just gonna bring in some color on the edge, just kind of feathery in. I don't know what the right term is. Just work it in layers. Get the border done. And this could very well ruin the project, I'll be honest. It's that kind of mode, but that's okay. Because as I was doing this last week, I was like, I gotta bring in some purple edging to kind of balance out. Holy freaking pink I got going on here. And I'm purposely working in lightly so I can layer in what I want to layer in. And hopefully... And I'm purposely holding it away from the edge to kind of try to lightly work this in. So this might be cool, or it might not be. Feel free to tell me your experience with watercolor pencils. Because I'm still learning. Like, yeah, I do have the Stampin' Up watercolor pencils. I don't use them as much as I should, because I'm not really knowledgeable in watercolor. But I should make a conscious effort to use them more often. But yeah, just working the edges. To where I want to be. Of course, probably having stuff underneath doesn't help, because I had glue and various unknown on this piece of paper that is gonna go soon. I just haven't let it go yet. But even just alone, this looks pretty good. But knowing me, I gotta muck it up. And this paper is not kind to watercolor penciling when I add the water, FYI. So feel free to use what paper you want. And all of these coloring sheets I've been doing this year so far, last couple months or so, are all available on my website. And my website is back online for the time being. Hopefully it will stay up for a while. I am looking at merging it somewhere else, moving it. but that is a future project. It's just in the middle of the seasonal Merry Ho Ho. Gets pretty busy. And when it comes to brands of watercolor pencils, your guess is as good as mine. Like, yes, I am partial to the Stampin' Up! Ones, but because I am not experienced with these, I cannot give a fair descriptor. Because I generally end up pulling out the cheap stuff just to kind of muck around and experiment like I am today. So to be honest, I don't know what is good. Yeah, and this is a cheap pencil. It is not liking my sharpener, but that's okay. Okay, well, it's on there. Alright, so let me... It doesn't feel right, this pencil. Feels like it's got like a rough edge somewhere, which now that I moved to a different side, it felt better for a moment there, but now it doesn't. In a lot of cases, finding the right tools is just trial and error, to be honest. And learning what works and what doesn't. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's really personal preference. So even for photography, are you Canon or Nikon? Well, it's personal preference. It's kind of sort of, once you pick a direction, that's your direction. Us, we went Nikon. I love Nikon, but I was already biasedly wanting Nikon in the beginning because I had a Nikon film SLR to start with. But that's an example of partial. So, for example, for regular coloring pencils, Sarah Renee Clark had done up a video trying out like 90 different brands or something to figure out what works. And essentially, as she puts it, it's personal preference, really. Because she loves Prismacolor. That is her go-to. But it depends on what you like. Depends on what you want to do. Me, when it comes to Prisma versus Faber, I'm more Faber. But I use both. So I personally like a little more solid than the Prisma. But if you're looking for a cheap alternative to Prisma with a little more hardness, Amazon Basics is awesome. See, now that put a lot more purple down here. Now that I'm adding more layer. That way, when I wet it up, it might really look cool. Hopefully. Or even just doing this looks cool too. So let's get up this side. And then we'll soon try out the magic of wet it up. And see what this does. And I'm trying to avoid most of the stuff that's already been colored, because that is gonna ruin it. Probably. I think we're just about there. Alright, I think we're there. So, interesting look. So what we have going on here is just bits of purple along the edges. So next up, take a paintbrush. And I've got a bunch here. I'm just going to take a little one, even though little may not be conducive. Oh, I'm doing this off camera. Sorry. I got a little thing of water that I use for painting in watercolor. And I just wet the brush. And then because it's pretty wet, I'm going to just unwet it a little bit. And then, actually I might need a little more water. And there we go. I probably should have used a bigger brush. And it's the part where I'll end up using too much water. But you can already see it's coming off. And just, you know, little bits here and there. Just keep mucking with it. Yes, bigger brush would have been conducive here. But that's typical for Kitty. I'm like, I'm going to use a small brush. Because I'm going to be like, yeah. And then I get in there and I'm like, yep. Should have used a bigger brush. But I'm already committed. And I'm just grabbing water as needed. and just kind of working along. But for me, I can see the difference. I don't know if you can see it. But it just kind of softens it, assuming my paintbrush skills aren't horrible. And it's curling the paper. So, yeah, it's kind of smoothing it out. Versus, you can see the pencil streaks. Versus, it's a little more just lightly. Almost like pastel-ish feel. And I'm just going to work a little more water in there. A little more water in there. Alright, and then come down the side. Yes, bigger brush. Would have been conducive here. And this is like my experience of watercolor pencils. It's great. I have colored with watercolor before. It is fun when you get into the right kind of project that it suits. So yes, the paper's curling, but I just like how it smooths it out. Alright, we'll leave the bottom to the last because it looks really cool right now. Alright, so we're going to come along in here. Wet it up. Like, it's great for blending just one color, just using watercolor pencils. But all in all, depends on the effect you're going for. And it so smooths it out. Alright, we're getting down to the bottom. Alright, here we go. We're at the bottom. Now, because I got a lot of purple down here, compared to the rest, it might really almost light it up. Which it is. As we can see. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Ooh, like I said, seasonal. Just gonna work it back up a bit, and that is our. I'll show it sideways here. That's our. So see how it softened the purple a bit, which looks really cool. I'm just gonna clean that brush, kind of. Like, I love it. So there is my coloring sheet on a camera angle that is not happy with it. And you can see it's still glistening wet, but that is really cool. There we go. That is today's project for the part 2 for the Stampin' Up video. Will most likely intend to be live, but we'll see how it goes, which would be posted before we get to this video, but all good. Anyway, thanks everybody. Feel free to hashtag replay, like, share, comment, follow, and subscribe. Be back again soon. Bye for now.